Welcome back to Society Case Files. My name is Robert, and today I'm going to talk about these spirit hosts. We're going to deep dive the instructions rather than build them, and I'll explain why in a moment. If you like this kind of content and you want to see more, please subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell. Otherwise, we're going to dive right in. I have the completed models off camera. I'm going to bring them in a moment, but I want to deep dive these instructions and really discuss the spirit hosts. I didn't do a build, and the reason for that is that it just took too long. It's not that there are a lot of steps, it's that every single step required me to let it dry for an extended period of time, because even giving it 10 or 15 minutes wasn't quite enough, and these connection points had parts falling off. They seem fairly reasonable now. I'm not overly thrilled with how they were built, and I don't think that they are all that great as far as their stability. They are part of the Nighthaunt spearhead, so they're kind of essential. Thank God there's only 3 of them, because if there were more, I probably would have given up a second time. And that is something to point out. I've had these for a while, and the very first time I tried to build them, I literally just failed. I couldn't get past this second point here because it was just too obnoxious. So I came back to it because, again, we're trying to complete the Nighthaunt spearhead, and these guys are part of it, and so here we are. Now, I want to dive in and first say that one of the trickiest parts is that while there are yellow parts here where they suggest to put glue, it is not that simple. Sure, they say dry fit before gluing. Well, no duh. Of course. I mean, that's what we do for everything, even obvious stuff. However, doing the dry fit, it's not like it lined up. There's not a nice groove right there for this part to go to that part. Obviously, putting the face on was no big deal. But connecting the first spirit tendril that's going to hold one of the little ghost guys, there was nothing. It was not nearly enough to make that connection. And they could have. They just chose not to. So it's pretty frustrating. So this is just crazy. So let's look at this one first. Let's see. I think he is this one. Let's just triple check. Yes. So it's this guy here. And basically, you start with the skull. You put the little skull face on there. And then you attach the cross section here that creates this ghost's head. And then there's another cross section here that creates that one. So once you kind of see that, you can kind of understand that you're going to do the best you can. Fortunately, this one has 2 connection points that make it pretty stable. I'm not afraid of this one breaking, really. But as you can see, the ghosts are right on top of each other. And that's not necessarily how they're intended. But with the Spirit Host build, I'm going to be honest, you get them on there as you can, and you just try to make them not look stupid, because that's what you've got. Now, this one was actually, and this is hilarious, because, again, I gave up on this when I first tried it. This turned out to be the easiest one, primarily because these 3 ghosts are pre-assembled, and you don't have to do anything with them. But anyway, let's move on. So, once you've done this cross-section, you've got to take these 2 things, which effectively you put them together. They tried to do a better job of diagramming it. It's awful. It doesn't matter. This stuff, sure, there's actually divots and everything in some cases, but they don't line up and they don't press together even dry fit. So you're just going to end up gluing them and praying that you figure it out. In fact, I had to break one off because it was too close together and start over again a couple times. So anyway, once you get this part built, then you connect this tail to that. And as you saw, that's where we get the cool cross section that helps us keep this stable. Once those are all on, then we start putting ghost heads on. The ghost head goes there. Again, in some cases, the ghost heads actually line up pretty reasonably well. Like, you'll look at the bottom and be like, oh yeah, that's fine. But in some, it doesn't work at all like that. So it's important for you to just get them on there and make sure that you try and cover up like flat surfaces that don't look spectral. At one point, I was having such a hard time getting a ghost on that I contemplated making it jagged or using green stuff to create another ethereal look in those places. But after we put this head on, then they want the second head down here, and then the last one will go on the top. In my case, the ghosts are kind of right on top of each other, but that's fine. I mean, they are spirits that are basically attacking in unison. So, whatever. That is the first of the three. Now, of course, the last one, they put the ghosty up there and then put them on the base. And they have massive bases, as you can see. It's a 50 millimeter base. It's nothing to sneeze at. Okay, so the second one. I got confident and excited because this was easy. The rib cage matched up perfectly. I was like, oh my goodness, maybe number 2 is going to be easier. And I saw these 2 divots here that connect to this. This had divots as well, and I thought, oh, they're going to slot right together. Nope, that's not the case. When you try to put this together and you dry fit it, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter that they're divots. It doesn't matter that they both look like they should connect up. They just don't. They slip around, and especially when you get glue on there, it's a matter of pinching it and just hoping it works out. This part here wasn't as bad, although this little stem that comes down here has something to connect to. Well, it wasn't that simple. Let's see. That is this one here. And again, with this one, I just did my best to make it work. And in some cases, in this case in particular, it does work. And I feel like it's fairly stable now that it's been drying for a couple days. But these parts do not link up the way they suggest. They just sort of, I just did it any way I could make it work. These instructions are more guidelines than they are anything else. Once you get those 2 parts on, you can start putting the ghosts on. But here's where they decided to complicate it for no special reason. Suddenly the ghosts are going to come in 2 parts. So you put half of a ghost up there and half of a ghost over here. And then we move on to this page where we put the rest of the ghost on a side. But that ghost has to become assembled. And it's especially frustrating because we're already dealing with a spindly ass model. Now we have to connect these 2 pieces together and put them up there, and it's already very frustrating. And this is why it took so long, because I put that on there. I had to let that dry because I couldn't manipulate this. It was just like going to fall apart. So this basically had to become a solid piece before I could slide it up against that. And that had to be a solid piece before I could try that. And then finally, when we get to the last part, we put the ghost heads on here, get that, and then we can finally put it on its base. But again, as you can see, it's not exactly the way they intended, since the ghosts always seem to be going sort of in one direction, and in this case, they're going in 3 directions. But you do what you can. So anyway, that's the second one. So now we move on to the third one. I'm hoping, but without much hope, that it's going to be simpler. And here's how it ended up. Oops, I just dropped a piece. There is 1 piece left. I literally just finished him. He needs his arm put on down here. I just don't care about that right now. I'm letting the rest of it dry first. Some of this is just an absolute mess. This one was pretty nightmarish. Even though getting this part on wasn't so bad, I will say that I came out this morning and found that I had made a mistake and that all 3 heads were so close together I'd never get the ghosts on. So I had to pop one of the pieces off and re-glue it, let it sit for several hours, and then I was able to come back to it. Once you start working on it, again, you're in the same position. You've just got to make sure that the heads, the ends of these tendrils are going to be far enough away from the other ones that you could fit the ghosts on. And in this case, they're once again kind of right on top of each other, especially the 2 top ones. They're actually touching each other. I wasn't going to be too worried about that. It might even make them more stable, to be perfectly honest. But yeah, there's that. So, back to the instructions. It's the same as the other 2. You're just basically going to do your absolute best. And then, of course, there's some crap that you can put on the bases. You've got some like gravestones, which are cool and all. But considering the complexity of this, I would probably not put them on there myself. In fact, I might use them for something else entirely. I'm going to show you that on the bottom here, I'm not at all thrilled with this. you can see that this head is attached to that in such a way that you can still see it if you lift it up. Obviously, if you're playing, you probably won't notice it, but I know it's there and it annoys me. And it's just that kind of stuff with these spirit hosts that you just are going to live with if you want to make them. Now, I've got 3 more because I actually have the spearhead. These came separate. I bought them separately a while back. So maybe I will have better luck with the spearhead version. And I'll even try to film it maybe and see how I do. But again, it takes so long to dry, it's kind of not worth it. In a lot of ways, it's better to just, well, in this case, talk about it and go through it in detail and discuss what I've discovered. But if you do have any trouble, I have spent a stupid amount of time working on these spirit hosts. I might be able to answer your question. I have another set so that if something does come up and you want to ask, you can let me know and I can try it and see what comes of it and see if I can offer you any advice. But anyway, that's all I've got to say. I just wanted to go through these spirit host characters with you and just let you know basically what I experienced, and know that you're going to have to be very patient. The first time I tried it, I was pretty raged out about it because up till that point, I hadn't done anything this ridiculously, well, I'm just going to say it, poor quality, the way that they fit together and stuff. So it was fairly frustrating, and I wasn't in the right mindset. This time, I just knew I had to get it done, so I just relaxed about it and let it happen, and we got through it. That said, do let me know, and I will try to replicate anything you've got going on, and I will see what I can do to help. But anyway, this is Robert with Society Case Files, signing off.